Hey everybody, welcome back to Drinks with Dylan. Thank you for being here. Appreciate it. I know it's been a second. Let's talk about that first, and then we'll talk about this episode coming up. So, I mentioned, I think earlier on in the podcast, this would be more of a passion project. I stay more consistent with YouTube videos being weekly. Even that had a little bit of slip up during the holidays, which, by the way, hope everyone had a good holiday, had a good time, was able to spend some time with loved ones, be it in cyberspace or in person with a bunch of rapid tests and just Q-tips up the nose, whatever your path was for that. We're hoping to get back to weekly with the podcast and a little bit more regulated on streaming and YouTube as well. I had a little pseudo hiatus for a bit, but this week's guest is Nethery. We're hoping to have him back for next week's episode as well, because he's just a great dude, good friend of mine, super interesting talking to him. Got to learn more about him, and we hang out pretty regularly anyways. But he's, let's do a synopsis. He's computer programmer person, with a job doing that stuff. He's going to school for a master's with AI and music, which is really interesting. He helps out on a hotline for emotional support through this program he's a part of. Just all sorts of fun stuff and really interesting. So pour one, hang out. It's going to be a good time. Hey everybody. I guess this isn't the intro. We're doing the thing. Live podcasting. The record button is hit. It's episode whatever I just said in the intro. Got another special guest here. Oh, I just changed scenes to something that it wasn't supposed to be. We're back. Special guest this episode, Nethery. We went to high school together, then somehow ended up in New York City together. There's a long list of the things he does, so I'm just going to do a really terrible job of introducing it, and then we'll talk more about it later. But percussionist, which is how we met initially, pianist, singer, composer, a lot of other things, and maybe legally computer genius. We're gonna talk about all the things and figure out more of what he does. But let me change. Are you ready for this scene change? He's gonna show up and then he said words. He ruined. No, I'm just kidding. There he is. Hey.
Hey. Hello.
This black space is gonna stay. By the way, I just put the watermark of the thing in the video. But if anyone has suggestions or stuff they'd want to see in the background, let me know. Also, apologize for the sound. Moore's making us hot chocolate, so I'm not going to stop that from happening, but we got these little stir sticks at Trader Joe's. I've never used one of those before.
I'm about to just eat them.
Yeah. Also, hot chocolate bombs look dope. Dude, have you ever had a hot chocolate bomb?
No, that sounds great. I would say do not stop what Moore is making.
Yeah, no, definitely not. I really want to have one of them, though. I want to make them, but I feel like you need all the fancy, you got to do, the whole,
From scratch thing, melt the chocolate and do all that stuff?
Yeah, you melt the chocolate and then fill it with powdered hot chocolate and marshmallows. Yeah. And then you gotta make milk hot enough that it breaks it open, and then it cracks open. And then it's not even it's not like a bomb where it literally is and then it mixes itself. It's okay, now I still gotta stir. I don't know. It seems like a cool idea if someone else made it for you and was hey.
You know more about this than you let on. I am actually beyond the point where I don't understand what this is supposed to look like. I assume it's supposed to be hot chocolate as far as taste, but
it's like a whiskey ice cube, the big ball of ice where you make fancy cocktails and stuff. It's that shell.
Yeah, dude.
And
I
then
love fancy
inside of it. Oh yeah. So okay, all right. For anyone who's new, what an intro. This is Drinks with Dylan. So the only rule, because there are literally no rules, me and Noah decided that we'd do it tonight 2 hours ago, is that you have to have a drink. So real quick, I got this fancy thing that Moore got me, and I'm so happy every time I get to use it. It's my nice decanter with this giant, you can't really tell, but the size of this cup is huge. And if you're listening to this and you can't see it, twitch.tv/DylanMansur music for the streams, and the YouTube channel is just Drinks with Dylan. But it's this giant glass. So when I pour a finger of scotch, it's my thing is it's a coffee mug that's big enough you could serve soup out of it at a cafe. You know those mugs that are just gigantic? It's that of scotch glasses.
I actually have a couple of those huge mugs, which would probably be great for hot chocolate.
Or a hot chocolate bomb. You can make you could put two in there. Oh my God. Noah doesn't drink that much, which we should talk about. But let's start by he is, because it's the rules, and he's a good friend and supportive. So would you go with?
Yeah, the beverage reveal. Okay, so when you drink with Noah, you do it Noah style. I've been walking around New York for quite a bit of time, and I see these Heineken ads
Oh
for
God.
this beer,
Oh no, is
this
this a?
special beer, and I found it at the store. Is
Oh
the
God.
0% alcohol-free Heineken beer,
Oh my
which I'm
God.
very excited to try. By the way, so I don't drink. I'm sober by choice. I'm happy to do it. Makes for awkward conversations sometimes. Some of the best advice I ever got, though, is if I'm in a situation where it's just socially I have to drink, I was told a gin and tonic is the way to go. So that's always my go-to if I'm in a situation where I just need to like hold on to something and sip something. I do a gin and tonic, but man, kudos to people that like get super into fancy cocktails and mixology and have a taste for scotch and all that. I mean, I appreciate it, and I've been very fortunate in my life that when I've tasted alcohol. I've just never been drunk. That's really more of like I guess the weird thing. But I've been very lucky to when I've had drinks, it's always been super fancy. Um, I just have friends who are older and have great taste in alcohol, and when they're like, "Hey Noah, you should try this. You've never had it before." It's usually something great quality. So I feel like I skipped that phase where like we drink cheap alcohol because that's all we can afford. And I've been very fortunate to taste some very tasty things. I wish I could tell you more about them. I have gone to a Scotch bar in New York, where I've tasted, I guess, like a flight of different scotches.
Wait, where was
That was a
this?
fun. This was in the Village.
West, I'm assuming.
Oh, yeah, West Village. I can't remember the name of it, but I feel like it's pretty well known if you just Google
West
Scotch
Village,
bars.
Damn, I gotta do
Yeah.
that. But cheers, by the way. I think you'll be one of the few that Mason did our last thing, and he also did not. He had a beverage. He's not really one to drink. But he drank like Jose Cuervo and like a strawberry lemonade margarita mix, which like what a choice to be like, I don't drink, so I guess this is what I'll have. Like it was so weird. And he drank it out of like a tall glass, like it was like you got a soda at like a burger joint. That was like back when you could eat in restaurants and stuff. But I respect the decision, and like, listen, if anyone's gonna try to give him flack, chill out. All right, we bend the
We
rules
do
sometimes because that's just how
we do
rules
it
work.
we do it Noah style. You know that
Also, the hot
chicken
chocolate
wing.
stuff. So I'm gonna kind of double.
Oh yeah, do it. You know that chicken wing interview show on YouTube, Hot Ones?
Oh, that
It's like
hurt.
some
Oh God.
oh, it's too hot. It's too hot.
The burning
It's like
of
sometimes
like scotch plus like hot fluid, and just my throat's so confused right now. That was gross.
I have to be honest, this just tastes like beer. Like it does. I mean, this is I think the future.
The
You know,
Heineken 0%.
Yeah, but now I like can walk past the ads on the subway stations and be like, oh yeah, that's what it tastes like. And I got a 6-pack, so I think this will be a new thing for me.
Nice. There you go.
One of these things has been super interesting. Someone put this on my radar. I'm not gonna like name the brand. I'm not gonna give any like. I guess I just did for Heineken, but I'm not gonna give that free advertising. But there's a company that makes something called a euphoric, and it's this like herby thing that is, I think it just has a bunch of vitamin B6 and caffeine, and you substitute it for liquor in like mixed drinks. And I've tried it before in like a mixed drink cocktail like concoction, and for something being non-alcoholic, it is quite tasty.
Interesting. That's so weird because a lot of times people like aren't really, especially people that like don't drink that much, tend to be like, oh, I don't really like the taste of alcohol, so I'll just like basically make the drinks without it, which like I think makes certain drinks not good. Obviously, like you can't make like one of my like favorite gin drinks, I guess, is it's like a Tom Collins. It's like simple syrup, some lemon juice, gin, and then like club soda. It's like really easy to make. Tastes super good if you throw in like a mint leaf or something too. That also just looks pretty with that. But like that's something that's like, okay, if you don't have like gin is such a flavorful liquor that's like if you don't have this, it's like very obvious. I guess most mixed drinks are kind of. I'm thinking mainly just like vodka. Like to me, vodka cranberry juice. Like a drink I like to make is like vodka cranberry with like club soda, or like vodka cranberry orange juice and club soda, because it looks cool when you pour it, and it also just tastes better than just one or the other. but I'm never like, oh yeah, fucking, I wish there was more vodka in this. This tastes like, I love the taste of isopropyl. Like, that's great. Like, no one's ever has that thought. You're just like, oh, I'll just drink juice with carbonated water. But now thinking about it, there's a lot of like liquor heavy drinks.
Honestly, all the liquor I've tried, I've enjoyed the taste of it. I get why people like love to drink, nice fancy mixed drinks. Trying to think of anything off the top of my head that I've enjoyed it all, so that doesn't help. But have I had a martini? I've had a martini. It was nice. It was
Gin or
quite
vodka?
nice.
Do you remember?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, no
I
worries.
couldn't tell you.
I don't think I've had a martini. I've been meaning to, but I was already drinking something else, and someone's like, I made martinis, and I was like, I'm not gonna get sick from this, so no.
Yeah. Now my brother, here's a little shout out. By the way, I'm a triplet, so I've got a twin brother and
Dude,
a twin
that's
sister.
so insane.
I know you forget it sometimes. You forget it, but
Yeah.
no. Yeah, we all were at the same high school, all the same age. Now my brother has definitely turned into like the mixed drink person of the house, and of course I try everything that he makes when I like visit home and stuff like that.
Sure.
He's pulling it off. It's pretty tasty.
Yeah.
Pretty tasty. Yeah, yeah.
So I have a question, if you don't mind, and if it's like too personal, because I know we've talked about some of the details of this, but maybe there's an abridged version, or if you just want to share the full thing or whatever. But I mean, you mentioned, because I didn't know that part, that you've like never gotten drunk before.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Is that like, I mean, is there a specific kind of like reason for that? I mean, I remember the stories that we've shared, and again, if that's like not, if you're not comfortable, there's no rule. So this is the first time I'm mentioning this to him. But so if you don't want to, we'll just cut it out, or you just don't have to say it. But I'm wondering if it's that story that you mentioned, or if it's other stuff, or like, because I understand those people that are like, hey, you need to try like everything once, but because of like my mental stuff and like already anxiety problems that I've had from, other substances, when it's like, hey, acid and DMT like opens your mind, is like, yeah, I don't think that that's a place that I want to go or can come back from right now. But I feel like alcohol is one of those things where like, I think it's I don't, now I feel like it sounds weird. I think it's like a good experience just to know, like, I think it's one of those things that's like, it's like the safest kind of experience where it's like, the odds of you getting drunk and it going south it's not going to be a substance, like a chemical substance, like a drug. I guess it is, but like, it's not going to be like you take like, if you drop like a tab of acid and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm having a terrible time. Like, you're not just going to, unless you down like 7 shots in a row without somehow tasting it or being like, maybe I should slow down. You're not going to get that like immediate crossing a threshold. So I kind of wonder if, is that like a line that you would test or push ever, or do you not want to, / why? Like, can you fill me in on some of that? Because I get like I just don't drink, but like, I've never been drunk either. I'm curious.
Yeah. So you're probably referring to a story where I've had a person close to me go through an actual like addiction to alcohol. This was not like that. This was actually like a little bet I've made with myself since I was like probably just beginning high school, for actually getting drunk. So I think there's definitely going to be a point where I'm like, I'm going to just do it just so I like know what it feels like. And I'll probably, I'll be fortunate to like have my first experience, I think, with like really cool people who are like, gonna make it like a fun, good time.
We're not good enough for that, by the way, stream and listeners, just so we all know. What he's saying there, the subtext is that he hates us, so just know that.
The thing is I don't trust you. No, I'm kidding. But the honestly, so something interesting happens when you have this like little bit of like self-discipline. Okay, so by the way, I'm not disciplined in other areas in my life at all. But it feels good to like manage something and feel confident in managing it. And like when you have something like that in your life, something weird happens. At least it did for me, where like it just became easier to say no if someone offered me a drink.
Mm-hmm.
Also, here's also just like another super important part. So I volunteer on a hotline, and it's basically like a social work type of thing. I volunteer quite a bit on weekends. So I'll just like have the calls forwarded to my phone, so that I actually can't be drinking if I have a hotline call. Okay. But again, all of that is just like coincidence. Like it's it's making it easier to kind of keep up this bet that I've made with myself for like
Good guy
this
Noah
long.
just like happened. It just like spiraled into
It
like,
just
yeah, now I donate my time to a hotline and I don't drink and just like, yeah, I'm basically just, and then I just like give all of my money from work just like out my window to passerbys and like, I don't know, I'm basically Robin Hood, but like it's fine. You're doing good too, I guess. Like,
no. See, I have to like preface it with that because it's truly just coincidence, and honestly, it works quite well. I mean, there's some other people on the team that like they'll take calls during the week or they'll take calls like in the morning, and they want on the weekend because like for good reason, like they want to let loose on the weekend. Like
yeah, of course. That makes
Lord knows
sense.
I do. I just do, I just do it in different ways, and like
Yeah.
it just really really works out where I'm able to take the weekend shifts. I know that I'm not going to be in a position where I'm like talking to someone experiencing
Compromise.
trauma, being like, it's
What
not
if you
that
just drank
bad.
instead?
Just be like, did that really happen? Like I can't ask like things like that. It's really just like they call the hotline if they need support and they just tell me how much like they want. And so it just helps to like be able to think about choosing your words carefully because especially if someone's experiencing trauma, there's a lot of things that could trigger someone. And there's a lot of
Yeah.
things that media like teaches us that we think is what you say when you want to like sympathize with someone, but it usually just really ends up like hurting them. I don't know if you've ever uh, had that happen where you try to like open up about something to someone and they like say something that they think that they're being really nice, and then you're like, oh, dude, like that really sucks. That was really rude.
Yeah, honestly, me and Moore have had some of those conversations because we're both very open and very communicative in our relationship. Moore is my fiance, by the way, for anyone who doesn't know. She's dope.
Congratulations, by the way. That happened pretty recently.
Yeah. Well, shit, not now. Damn, that was in like July, June. I can't remember. Dude, time just
Oh,
doesn't exist anymore during
dude.
the pandemic. Shit's just like,
Wow.
yeah. But
Dude, I literally thought it was like a month ago.
yeah, I mean, to be fair though, I mean, we climb now that we climb like once a week. There's so much shit to talk about. This is gonna be such a good episode. There's like, I'm
Yeah.
never. This is not. There's gonna be no silence at all. I like slower things because I think it pushes people in like a time where there's like everything is too fast. But fuck, I have like so much stuff to. Noah's super interesting for a lot of reasons because like. Well, I mean, all
You're
right.
too
Before
kind.
we
You're
even
too
get there,
kind.
no. Seriously, I just think
You're
it
too
is. But
kind.
how'd you? So the hotline thing. How'd you start that? I'm curious. Kind of. I mean, anything that you can disclose. I'm not asking like experiences or whatever, but like just kind of a general idea and how you started it and why. I'm curious on.
Yeah, sure. So again, I want to preface this because there are people in my life where I may know if they've ever. So let me say first of all, so I volunteer as a Ooh, am I allowed to say? Yeah, I can say it as long as I don't say like where it is. But I volunteer on a hotline that supports survivors of sexual assault. Trigger warning, by the way, if anyone, maybe for like the next 5 minutes, maybe turn the stream off and we'll be done talking about this. But uh, anyone in my life, either I know or not, if they're like survivors of sexual assault, again, it's purely coincidental because this is another thing that had like always bothered me as a child, um, the way that um, I think like men treated women. And to be fair, I was also part of that problem because like when you're young and you think of an idea that big and you're like, I just want to help, the only thing that you can go off of is like what society kind of tells you. And I do believe just in society right now, if that's your guide on how to treat women, you're kind of like going at it a little bit wrong.
Yeah, not a great
Um,
footing to start on.
yeah, no, and again, you can have the best intentions, but if you just aren't talking to women, there's no way you're gonna actually um, understand what the issue is and how you can actually be an ally. But anyway, so I got past that point where I realized, okay, like there's clearly more to if I really want to say. And by the way, I'm talking about women in this just because the majority of survivors of sexual assault are women. I do know that yes, it can happen to anyone, unfortunately. Um, and I have talked to male survivors and also non binary survivors as well. So yes, it can happen to everyone, but I tend to associate it with women just because so many of the survivors are women.
Yeah,
And
I mean it's like a median. Is that the right word? The median kind of like I guess, gender of it. I know it's like a really PC thing. So the one thing I'll interject here is just that like I am very much not sorry. Eric with the tier 1 sub for the second month in a row. I'm so sorry. This feels like a rough time to do this, but I just want to say thank you for the sub. This is cool. I didn't know you do podcasts. Yeah, man. There's no command in the chat for podcasts. Guys, if you're listening, first off, I know this is like a very tense moment because we're talking about some heavy things, but this is a live stream. So if you want to check it out, twitch.tv/music. Eric, dude, no need to feel sorry for that. It's not you, you're just doing the thing. Yeah. I appreciate the sub. Cindy, thank you for the lurk. Sorry, just catching up with chat for a second. But yeah, we do a podcast, Drinks with Dylan. Everyone that's here, thank you for being here. If you don't know, we stream it live. But as kind of a context thing for all of this, I struggle with this a lot. And this is bigger picture. We'll bring it back, I promise. And if I don't, because I'm stupid, please remind me to. But I struggle a lot with certain things in PC culture because I mean, I don't want to say I'm from the philosophy of, because I have an open mind to it, but for me and personally, going through certain things that I mean are probably too personal to share on the podcast, to be honest. But like I don't know. I've gone through some stuff where like it's pretty heavy and can be sensitive, but I think that humor is a great way that I cope, depending, because you have to be careful like the language that you choose and how much self-loathing, but also like the line of PC versus like being overly sensitive and causing more trouble with it. So like, I don't know. I'm just saying that in the sense of like, he's speaking about women right now. And we just spoke about how that's just kind of the median gender through these things, but it's not discrediting or like no part of that is innately attacking anybody else. And I'm not saying like, don't feel that way, but just as a heads up, like he's obviously speaking from his experiences. And I just want to make that clear because going forward and as this podcast continues to grow and do stuff or whatever else, I don't know. I struggle with like, I don't like walking on eggshells more than I have to. And this is like my passion enjoyment thing. And I don't want him to get attacked or me or this thing when we're like trying to navigate it the best we can. And we're in a time where I think there's two kind of polar opposite sides on things that both are equally dug into their trenches. And that's not how anything gets solved. Anyways, that was it. I just wanted to say like, please don't get mad at me or you for being like, not only women go through sexual assault. Like we're not, no part of what we're saying is that, Mm-hmm. Okay. Anyways, that's my little PSA. We're done.
Yeah, no, don't worry, men and non-binary folks. Like we hear you, but I'll be completely honest. The thing that actually called me to action was, I've had this like long sense that clearly there's like, in my opinion, that there's a power imbalance between men and women, and as a male, like I feel like I need to kind of help like turn the tide, and that's really what got me into it. And I've been very fortunate to never been a victim myself. It's something I would never wish on anyone. And I just was I was at a point where I was graduating college. I had taken this job that I like never thought I would got in a place where I really, really wanted to live. And I was like, okay, like this is a critical moment in my life. This is a time for me to, take the next step, for my own growth. And I just did a Google search. I think I literally just said, like, Googled how to help support, and it started for the trigger warning, y'all, but like how to support rape victims. Cause I didn't even know survivor was like a word that we used. Because I knew it was something that like, I just couldn't understand how anyone would do this to anyone else. And I just wanted to just like, I didn't know, and I just like wanted to help in any way I could. Also, I was a data scientist, so I was thinking like, can I help people on the statistical side? I didn't even think that I would actually be like on the front line, so to say. I don't know, maybe that's giving this job too much credit. Maybe it's not the front lines. There are people doing much more important things. But I found this job in the new place where I was living, and they're like, if you do this 40-hour training, you can interface with survivors and like help them with the things that they need. And it just turned into me like 2 years now. Has it been 2 years? I think, yeah, over 2 years, where I work with this health clinic. They're a nonprofit, which is rough because I really feel like like local governments or something with like regular secure funding should be providing the service. But sit on a hotline, wait for a phone call to come through, and I answer it, and I just say, "Hey, I'm Noah. What can I help you with?" And that's how it always starts. And
Man.
it's not like, yeah, it's a yeah, well, I don't know. Do you have any like comments there? And I still do it today, and I find that like it's going to be the thing in my life that will always ground me. Like just like Dylan, like we've got like huge goals with our art and like our other creations, and like it's easy to get super carried away with that stuff. And I just know that like being able to actually talk to someone who needs help and to be able to like empathize with what they're going through, and even best case scenario, like they hang up the phone feeling better than before.
Yeah.
This is something that like it's gonna like pull me right back down. And so I hope I never stop doing it. I'm glad that I'm still able to keep doing it, even like during the pandemic and everything.
Yeah. That's so awesome that you do stuff like that. Like I literally had no idea. Like going into this, I was like, yeah, there's certain stuff I want to talk about. Again, we're like already almost halfway done. This is definitely going to probably be longer than an hour if you have the time for it. But like, I'm just so curious
Oh,
about so
snap.
many things. But like,
Yeah.
um, that's so interesting that you found and pursued that. Like I don't know, as context as someone who's okay. So let's take a step back for a second from I guess kind of everything and just talk like me and Noah for a second. We were in high school together, played in bands together, both were doing drum stuff. It was a thing. And then like didn't talk for a while, and then you like went to Florida for college. We were both from Wisconsin where we went to high school, and then got a job in Jersey, and then moved to New York. Like I didn't know that, and then I didn't really know what you went to school for other than like some composition stuff you'd post. And you went to school for like you said, the data science thing or like computer science stuff. Listen, I'm dumb as shit comparatively. Like I don't know
Dude, no,
anything about computers and like all the fancy words and degrees. Like I'm not going to pretend that's my strong
no,
suit.
that was
Like,
incredible. That was actually hitting all the stuff on the money, actually.
well, so like he does all this computery stuff, which I was expecting to talk about, but it's so interesting because we've talked about some like moral thoughts on that, which is things that I wanted to talk about. And I'm kind of facing a job conundrum and that we'll also talk about and see how much I can say without getting in trouble for signing an NDA and like a non-compete and all this stuff without saying names of companies. But like it's so interesting that you kind of did that in your free time as someone who like I'm working a job that like I enjoy. So I work at a rock climbing gym. For anyone who doesn't know, the first episode of this podcast is just me by myself explaining my whole life. So the end of that is I'm at a climbing gym. So like it's something that I enjoy, but it's not by any means like my heart and soul or passion or anything like that. And I feel like your job is similar, and correct me if I'm wrong, but in that like there's a certain amount of sacrifice of self that happens doing that, where it's like, well, I mean, fuck it, I gotta pay bills because you do, and I was tired of like being sad and making no money and chain smoking cigs and trying to do music stuff. And I was like, what if I did music happier and found a job that I can tolerate? But like that you can go from doing that for like such a substantial chunk of your time and then afterwards donate more of your time to things, while also like hustling your own stuff. That's like a lot of, I don't know. I think there's like two really important things, and the biggest being like your time is just something that like is never, as much as we try to monetize it and everything, it's just straight up, there's nothing compares to that, and that you're willing to give more after you're already doing something that, I mean, you enjoy it, right? Like you enjoy computer science and the stuff that you do. Like it sounds
Yeah.
kind of
Oh,
interesting, but also it sounds kind of not at times,
exactly. Yeah. Do you want me to jump in right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'm well,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. So I guess to funnel it, I guess we get a good idea of the call hotline stuff, but I'm curious, can you speak a little bit to your job and like the moral stuff you talked about it with it, and you don't have to do company names if it's just general titles. I think people will
Yeah.
get the idea. But my understanding is that Noah does stuff, big pharma, doing fancy computer stuff, and like, is yeah, I don't know. Your turn. That's all I got.
Yeah. No, and I think even the people that I work with, like, you know this. If I could be doing music full time and like making a living off of it, I would. And I actually I worked with a bunch of incoming freshmen um, at FSU, and one of the things I asked them was like, if you couldn't study whatever you were studying right now in school, which was by and large STEM, science, technology, engineering, math, I said, if you couldn't, but you still had to go to school here, what would you, and like there was no consequence, what would you change your major to? And like everyone except for one person said something in the arts or humanities.
Yeah,
And so
that's nuts.
I don't think it's a stretch at all to say like if we could all make a living acting or dancing or cooking or filmmaking or whatever, like yeah, like I think we'd all want to, want to do it. Um and that was actually my strategy in college. I treated music as like the main degree and computer science as like the hobby. Because you're right, it is something that I enjoy. I love computers. I love thinking about computers. Um, I have now learned that I just enjoy the act of coding. Um,
That's crazy because I feel like that's some real
yeah,
repetitive shit to do.
yeah, no. It totally does. And like, there are some brilliant like people I work with too, where for them coding is just a means to an end. They're like, it's just a tool in the toolbox. I just do it because it's the best way for me to like get this job done.
Can you
But
explain what coding is, by the way? Because I feel like I know a little bit about it. Not much by any means, but because I have friends that do similar things in the field. But for anyone who like doesn't know what coding is, and it's not a jab at you. Like again, I still barely know what the fuck that even means. I have
yeah,
some computer smart friends that have explained it. But
yeah. I think the best way I can describe it, I'll describe coding with a lowercase c. This isn't anything official. This is just like my own thing. If you were to go to a company that hires a programmer or a coder with a lowercase c, what you would be doing, I believe, is you're a translator. You're translating from two languages, one language being business requirements. So, like, this is a business and we have this task that we need to accomplish. And you're translating it to, uh, text or a format that a computer can understand and replicate. And it can do it in a very predictable and on-demand way.
can you give like
And
a
so,
for instance?
yeah, sorry, I realized
No,
you
no,
were
it's all
looking for
good.
something concrete, and I was like, let me give you like a high-level philosophical answer. No,
That liberal
concrete.
arts coming out.
Yeah, hey.
No, it's all
Oh
good.
yeah, and that's we'll talk about like identity in the workplace, like what happens when it's painfully obvious that you're not the cookie cutter like
Yeah, just code and
scientist.
then go home and then I drink and then, hang out and party on the weekends. Like, no, I go
Yeah,
home
yeah,
and stay sober and work a hotline and also write music.
yeah. Things can get weird when you're outed as the artist in the office. But yeah, okay. A concrete example. I made iPhone apps. I made an iPhone application. So like you open up what's something that everyone does? TikTok. Like I could make TikTok. I could literally code the user interface along with, so that's everything that you're interacting with on your screen. But I could also program, so that's like what we call a front end. Like you, the user, are looking at something kind of in the front of this, you know, machine that we're going to call like TikTok or something. And then also the back end, which is the code that like, well, users are sending videos to a server somewhere. And then I need to get those videos on that server to like this person's phone right now. And so, again, you need instructions to do that. You need to tell a server where it should be listening for video uploads and where it should be listening for people who want to watch videos and where to send them. And yeah, that's a good example. Do you
Okay.
want me to like go more
No,
in
I
depth,
mean,
like
well, I
because
think.
as
Go ahead.
okay,
Or we can just
I'll
keep
go.
going together for like 4 minutes until they figure it out. As an aside, that crinkly sound you just heard was me. All right. Okay, pause for a second. This is our
Mhm.
timeout sidebar thing. I went to CVS, right? That was that giant bag that I mashed up behind me to pretend like my home doesn't look like we're buying a new kitchen table and our whole living room, kitchen, one other room other than the bedroom is just out on the floor. I was looking for what's that? Lunchables at CVS. They didn't have,
Lunchables.
so I got this sad Oscar Mayer thing which is like an upgrade because the alternative was like this fancy people Lunchable with like pretzels and prosciutto, and like I just wanted something because I had a giant lunch and I was like, I need something to eat because I'm gonna have drinks tonight, and then I know I'm gonna be hungry and I'm gonna want something. Let me find a Lunchable, and all I could get was this Oscar Mayer thing. So that was the crinkly sound. Also, it's like smells weird.
Man.
The ham is pretty potent, and it's got like wheat thins for the cracker. Like I just wanted a like Lunchable with their crazy like butter cookie, and instead I got this weird slice of like, it looks like it's higher quality, but I can't tell. Like this weird, I don't know, this weird ham circle.
These West Coast Hollywood elites, now they're ruining Lunchables. What's next? By the way, that's a little political levity. If that bothers you, go to a different podcast.
Oh,
wait. Am I allowed to make rules about your own
no,
podcast?
throw shade. I don't give a shit.
By the way, this is my podcast now, and these are my rules.
This episode is called Drinks with Noah. We changed the thumbnail and everything.
Noah. Drinks with Noah, except no one drinks anything.
Sober Drinks with Noah.
There's no social lubricant. You just have to do it live.
Social lubricant. I hate that. That's so bad. But true, when you got to be out with people and you're antisocial like me, I mean, the first thing you do is hit the bar and then hit the group of people. You don't like hit the group of people like with the drink. You like walk to them and say hello. I don't know. That's what I've been told you're supposed to do. I don't. Again, not the social interacting type.
Wait. Okay. Here's a fun question, because we can talk about coding later. Coding's cool. Whatever.
Do you code real quick before I forget? Are you sure. What you do coding?
Okay. So I'll do this so people just know what happens. So I started as a software engineer. You can Google what that means, or I guess I'll just tell you. It's people that literally make applications, software, like literally making software. And then I've pivoted to something that I've always been the thing that brought me to coding in general, and that was data science. And data science. A data scientist is kind of a problematic term in like the job field, because it's a little bit of an engineer, a little bit of a statistician, a little bit of a business analyst. But the part of it for me that is the most important part is machine learning. And so artificial intelligence has always, that was like the dream of like building like a neural network or something that learned how to compose a sonata. Like that was always like, that's really why I learned programming. So like, I'm not kidding when I said like I went into college thinking like music was my main focus, although my teachers probably disagreed with how distracted I was all the time. But and the coding was just something I'd always wanted to learn for my own pursuits, and fortunately that's worked out quite well. So I'm at NYU right now, and I'm getting a master's in something I'm calling Computational Creativity. And it's literally like, taking the creative process and teaching a computer how to be creative, or at least finding corollaries of what creativity is. And then something really amazing happens. Like, let's say like we teach a neural network to compose a symphony, so like a 3-movement symphonies are 3 movements. Yeah. No, they're 4 movements. Oh gosh, I'm a bad.
Four.
They're 4 movements. They're 4 movements. I'm thinking of another form, but
I'm eating. Don't judge me, all right? That's what my mouth full of crackers and Oscar Mayer sounds like.
Yeah, Dylan says 4 movements through all of the high quality Lunchables.
Expensive microphone. Here's me full of food. 4 movements.
You can hear it in high definition. Okay, so like let's say we train all of that, and now if you're an actual data scientist, this is a bad hypothesis, but I'm not talking to the data science crowd right now. Let's say it can compose a symphony on the fly, like on its own, and you've trained it on all the symphonies in the corpus of Western music. What you have as like an artifact is this computational graph, or really probability distribution, depending on like what way you want to look at it. And what it is, it's like if someone went into the entire corpus of symphonies with a scalpel and drew divisions around like, okay, like these symphonies do similar things here and these ones do similar things here. and you can like look at an entire body of music that you would not be able to like hold all in your head on your own. Um, and that's like why I really enjoy this type of big data machine learning, because the things that we can learn when we ask computers to create something, right? Like we can only create what we understand. People attribute that to Richard Feynman, the physicist. Um, if we train computer or if we ask computers to create things based on what they've learned, we also hold like a mirror up to that data. And where does the data come from? It comes from society, it comes from history. So we're really holding this like mirror, this really high definition mirror up to society. And all of, at least in the context of music, and all of the things that like people thought was good for composing sonatas and things people strayed away from, and really weird outliers and
Odds you come up with the parallel fifths rule.
parallel to this rule. Oh yeah, I saw your video. Yeah, by the way,
That
like
was really lazy, by the way. That was just like I had to cram it in like the day before. Like I'm supposed to have uploaded a video. I do a YouTube channel in case you're somehow here not knowing who I am, which would be insane, honestly. But hey, maybe. I make YouTube videos, and every Monday there's a theory video, and this Monday's theory video is like a very lazy version. Like I try to improvise four part harmony counterpoint stuff. Like I can't. I mean, it's okay. My point was proven, I guess. But then someone posted a comment, and I was like, I could have counter argued all of these things and done it in another 2 minutes, and I didn't. So sorry that you saw that video. Not my crown jewel, but it's just a stupid fucking rule. But anyways, that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
That's like a really nerdy music conversation rule, but.
Yeah, parallel fifths are fine. I have a teacher at NYU right now who I really jive with and really get along with, and like, I'll be composing and I'll like agonize over like, especially we did an exercise that was writing a piano sonata in the style of like early Beethoven, and so I was like agonizing like, am I not like doubling the root of the chord? Am I making sure that like my root and fifth like go in different directions to the next harmony?
Yeah.
And like I like did that, and he like heard it and he's like, this sounds kind of dumb. Like it sounds fine. It sounds fine if you like double these notes, or if you
just theory boy on coke, just like this is what would happen if you had an anxiety attack over entry level theory rules. And
yeah, I mean, we need to remember, like, and again, this is his quote, like, we are making music to be listened to. If it sounds cooler listening to it, but it looks weird on a page, don't get me wrong, I love written music. I know that's like controversial, especially in the age of like postmodern music, mostly because music notation is the best way I can teach a computer how to read music or how to like interpret music. I love notation. I love like writing a handwritten score, but like there are things that look wrong on the page that sound awesome like in the real sound world. So like write parallel fifths. Just not on your theory exams, because then you're gonna fail, and if you're paying for your own education and you're failing, that kind of sucks. But
yeah, that's how I feel about my stuff. I write music that like looks like hell. People see the page and they're like, bro, what the fuck is this? And then they play and they're like, I get it. And I was like, yeah, you just had to like hear it once, and then all of a sudden you didn't have to count to 9 this time.
And here's the crazy thing: if enough people started notating music in the same way that you were like sounding, it would just become accepted. Like, my favorite thing to tell, like, so I work with a lot of like people that I would say like don't identify as artists, and especially don't have a lot of experience with music. The thing I love talking to my coworkers about is like, yeah, like a lot of the stuff that we think are hard and fast rules in music are just decided by cultures and different generations. We just decide it's the way things should be, but there's no mathematical like constant of like why why the octave has to be divided by 12 semitones, like
and then you look at it and it gets really. Did you see Adam Neely's video talking about why music theory is like racist and how like super it's like just a whole like Western culture normative thing where you're just like super ignorant towards everything else, and you're like, yeah, well, basically people that wrote this in like the whatever century it was were like correct always, and now that's our meter stick. And it's like, well, that doesn't make any fucking sense. Like I'm sure I could listen to something that's like one of my favorite composers is from Armenia, and he has a lot of like odd meter stuff and a lot of like like harmonic minor things, really nerdy music shit, by the way. So if you're in this, don't just bear with me, I swear we'll bring it back. But like you know, to him, like, it's the music he grew up on, right? So he's used to hearing these things just as a part of his culture, you know, or like, if you look at like a lot of music in, I guess in India, I don't know what the label would be, and I don't really give a shit, honestly, because what's the point in that anyways? But like,
hold on. Here's I'll please maybe some folks who come from the Indian music tradition. If I remember correctly, there's the Carnatic tradition and the Hindustani tradition.
okay,
So I've saved you, Dylan. At least I
no,
hope
yeah,
so.
it's fine, and I don't
You
mean that
can
as like
roast
ignorant.
me. Roast me in the comments if I'm wrong.
I mean, I don't mean it as like ignorant or being like, it doesn't matter. It does, but like, I don't know it. So I'm not going to try to like claim to, and it's not a jab at you either. I just don't know what it's called. But like, you know, music that's not a bunch of white dudes wearing wigs writing shit for royalty, right? Which is like what our theory stuff essentially was. So like, there's all these odd meter rhythms and these counting cycles and like the way of counting with fingers. And when you're using staccato and syllables and stuff, that the odd meter things are less uncommon, meaning like in our music, right, like that's 1 2 3 4, right, 3, I gave you 3 so you knew where it was, right? But if they're like, hey, I'm used to counting in 7, like, it's not crazy for them because that's what their culture shows. It I don't know, it's all like subjective with those rules. It's so garbage. Adam Neely made a really good video about it, and he clearly tried harder and is way more thesized. That's a word I've decided.
Yeah.
Talking about music theory stuff and it being like really fucked up. I forgot what we were talking about beforehand, but just as a side note, that's a really good video. And I don't really normally, I'm not a big fan of theory videos, and I don't normally spend 45 minutes watching shit on YouTube other than like people surviving on islands or building a house out of mud when I'm trying to sleep. Those are the only 30 plus minute YouTube videos that I watch. But
yeah, I'm the same way. Like, I really don't need another video of like, here's why Tommy Flanagan on Giant Steps is like bad.
that
like,
poor guy, dude. That guy. If you don't know, this dude played his solo at like half speed for the first 2 choruses. Basically, there was this ridiculous song with like these brand new chord changes that no one's ever heard before. And then they were like, hey, can you play this? And they just like showed up to the session, and the dude was like, yeah, okay. And then like had a tough time, and then the sax player came in again soloing over his solo. They took 2 solos on it because the sax player wrote the song. It's a whole thing. It doesn't matter. It's like really nerdy jazz school shit. But like this dude,
there's a billion videos. Just watch any of the billion videos, which I always skip over.
Yeah, if you look up Tommy Flanagan, just anywhere, the memes are great. And I feel so bad for the dude because it must have been so hard to play that. But like, yeah, it's, I don't know, it makes no sense. By the way, as a side note, Moose is in the chat, and he said Noah looking fly as ever. So I'm taking that, as a compliment for you.
What a callback, dude.
Yeah, Moose is the
That's
other
awesome.
smart computer person that I talked to. He's a Moose. If you're
That's
here, man,
right.
I wonder how Sony is in Seattle. Right? Is that? I'm not fucking that up, right? I think that's what was happening last. All right. Well, okay. So there's a couple.
Hold on.
No, dude.
I have to.
Microsoft.
I have to say
Damn it! Are they not the same thing though?
Okay, hold on. I just have to say this. So when I was in drumline with Dylan in high school, the folks that were like 2 years older than me or whatever, I thought you guys were like so cool, and I still do. Like, this isn't like me being like, and now I think you're all lame.
No, you guys suck. So no.
it's great. Like, I love hearing from. I actually like did some stuff with Ben Pomeroy like 2 years ago at some weird theater thing.
Hell
Actually,
yeah, man.
we don't
That's
talk
dope,
about
man.
it because it was so weird. But
Wait, was that the thing in Wisconsin?
Yeah.
The thing in downtown that you guys did at that
Yeah.
place? Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, but I love hearing from. I guess I don't know like what to say, like the upperclassmen of like drumline or something, but
Yeah.
you
we had
guys
really cool
like
people
made
before us.
you guys made high school very fun.
Yeah, I was
so-
really sad junior and senior year. You guys were the reason why everyone thought I was a jaded
Oh,
douche
it
in
was
high school. Was
sad.
because you guys left, and you guys were like the only friends I hung out with. And then I was like, well, now I have like almost no friends, so I'm just sad. And then I just went to the band room practice during lunch instead of
That's
having
why
to
I
sit
did
at a
theater.
table.
That's why I picked up theater. That's why I picked up theater more, because I was just like, well,
Basically, what you're
Drumline
saying is
is
you
what
guys
it
you
is.
guys screwed us up and ruined half of our high school. So thanks for that. Dude, that was a weird time
that's
too.
cool.
Okay, so bringing it back, because there's a conundrum. That's a word. I'm going to use that and also start wearing Velcro shoes and yelling at kids about my lawn. I loved it too. Wishing you both the best. Thanks so much, man. Appreciate that. We got to catch up. I've been meaning to call you on one of my skates to and from work. I've decided that during that like 30-minute window, I'm going to start calling people that I owe phone calls to / that I want to catch up with instead of doing one marathon. The last time we spoke was for like 3 hours, me and Moose, like at 2 a.m. when I was like building my computer, I think, or something. Anyways, as an aside, you should call people that you like to talk to. It's important, and it's very hard to do. I'm trying to do a lot of time to make sure I like try, at least. I'd rather leave a voicemail than just like never talk. But okay. Anyways, work stuff, right? Me and Noah clearly both do like music things, right? And that's like we spoke on the first episode. I was trying to do it full time, but I was just like going through too much, and music schools don't pay the best. Believe it or not, the arts are very undersupported. As much as you may see people like get famous on YouTube and Spotify, like that shit's not fucking real life. So whatever your sources of being like, why don't you just make a YouTube video doing this? You know how many times I've been doing YouTube for like, I think almost 4 or 5 years now. The amount of times people are like, just do this and like, that'll be good, right? Way more complicated. So there's like a lot to it. And the payment thing, even with the internet, is still very challenging and very hard. Hence the 9 to 5 thing. If you want to hear more about at least my experiences with it, that's the first episode of the podcast. Noah's gone through his own stuff with it, but I wonder.
We got super sidetracked on that first question. Is like, how do you like live with having an office job?
Yeah,
that was the initial question, and we spun out.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I want to bring it back to that because all these podcasts are kind of turning into the same thing because I have so many music friends, but I don't give a shit because we all do similar things in very different ways. Like me working at a climbing gym is not the same as you doing like program code science data computers at like a big pharma company, you know? Like that's not equivalent, but it's very similar in the realm of like, hey, I spend a whole shitload of time doing something that's not related. Did you ever feel weird hopping into that? Has there been like hiccups navigating it? It doesn't have to be a long thing unless you want it to be. It can be whatever you want, but just like, can you speak to that a little bit in your experience? For me, it was a very hard, like I felt underqualified. And a big part of that was because I was like speaking at places, especially about like music business and stuff, which I guess goes to show I was like, hey, you should do this better so that you don't have to be me later.
Well, and also to be fair, like we talk about like the business and like, yes, there's an establishment, but when we talk about business as like an exchange of goods and services, like you are in music business if you are going around to schools talking about music business and feeling bad about it. At the end of the day, that's music business.
It's a self-fulfilling paradox. It's a very weird thing. It's kept me up many a night where I was like, does this qualify? ? My head's spinning, but yeah. So I also spoke about composition and some other stuff, I guess, which makes me feel a little bit more qualified for it. It was just it was a weird time being like out of college, being like, you should make a website and do this stuff because I half-ass it because I'm super depressed and have a different job. And if you start it now and you're not depressed and half-assing it, I bet you won't have to do what I'm doing, which is a weird pitch. But I mean, it works well because I was so curious about. Okay, sidebar before Noah says his part, I guess. I'm just so curious about how people get that stepping stone of like, you'd see all these people talk about the music and respecting the music and it as this kind of big picture thing and being an artist and stuff. And that's all great and good. And I'm grasping that more and more as I go. But when I was younger, a big part of it was like, how do I develop like the chops and the physicality of, first off, drumming and just like music in general, deal with the disconnect of like what I was being taught in school versus what I was hearing and what was being performed around me in real time. And then how to go from like in school to getting gigs and making money doing this. Like none of that made sense and no one really talked about it. So when I reach out to things, I'm like, hey, this is stuff I wish I knew more about. I want to talk about my experiences with it because it is such a weird, like kind of, it's literally just a giant gray area of like, yeah, I went to high school and then I went to college and then like, now I sell out all these jazz clubs and like you got to treat the music with respect. And I was like, yeah, but like, how do you not go homeless? Like, can we talk about that middle gap? So you went to school for composition, right? And the computer thing, was it a double major?
It was a double major.
Jesus. Okay.
It was and again, I wouldn't wish a double major on anyone. To say that I like. First of all, to say that I did 2 outright degrees would not be the whole truth. I did double dip requirements as much as possible. So if I take a music history class, like you better be sure that like it counts as like a, like a general like, credit history class.
Sure.
It also really helped that I exempted out of all the piano proficiency and all of the ear training classes.
Not to flex, but I'm also like a music savant as well as a computer genius. So like,
no,
it's fine.
No.
Don't worry about it. And then on my weekends, I just, donate to help out people who need support. So like, it's fun. I'm just like Robin Hood on steroids, but No, I'm, I'm
Okay,
just messing around. I'm just messing
people
around.
say okay about the ear training thing specifically. By the way, I love ear training. I still test my ear every single day of my life. People you say like, oh wow, it must be cool to just like have this magical acquired skill, and I'm like, man, you never saw me in high school.
Dude,
Like,
you shedded that shit a
dude,
lot.
every department store I listened to, I would not leave until I figured out what's the bass line of this song that I'm hearing on the radio. And if I couldn't figure it out, I'd remember what the song is called, play it when I get home, sit in front of a piano, try to match what I'm hearing to like what the music actually is. And like, yeah, dude, that was a grind.
Yeah,
Um,
Noah was cracked on the ear training. He was straight up just like, yeah, this chord and then this chord and this is what it goes. Like the ear to like playing thing was insane. And like I've slowly kind of accumulated it because I haven't tried it as much, and I'm trying to get better at it because like I'm slowly starting to get it. Like this is not at all comparable to what you're talking about, but like I heard a car horn the other day when I was like working on the patio of the gym, and I was like, I think it's this note, and it was correct right away. And I was like, oh, maybe I'm developing relative pitch very slowly because I'm not practicing much. But yeah, the ear thing, man, was nuts. I'm not discrediting anything that you do or making it feel like some sort of vibe, or that like I just think it's great that you do so many things that I think are like super cool. It's like inspiring to be like, yeah, I should do cool stuff and try at things too. But that's like, it's sick.
Thank you. Hey man, nothing is a better motivator than just like the bottomless pit of self-loathing, which is a quote from Free Solo
Yikes.
that Alex Honnold.
Is that actually, did he say that?
That's something he actually said. Now, I don't think
That's the
I'm
most
as-
free soloing, like depressive. If I fall
Dude,
and die, free soloing, by the way, is climbing without a rope. Me and Noah both climb. I work at a climbing gym full time. Me and Noah climbed literally tonight, which is how we decided to do this because I know I needed to film one. But Alex Honnold free solo is about a dude who climbs without ropes. He climbed El Cap, which is like, what was it, like 3 point something thousand feet with like out ropes.
it was some crazy like that, yeah. And
Yeah.
he did it. He beat his time. He thought he was going to I'm probably remembering the numbers wrong, but for the sake of the story, I think
Sure.
he thought he was going to do it in like 4 hours or something, or maybe it's 3 hours. And he was so focused and just so in like the flow. He did it an hour before or something that he thought he was going to complete it.
Yeah.
So he was that confident and that in the zone that he's just like, I've got this.
Yeah, that's such a mental thing, though.
Yeah.
I don't remember that quote, but that's so like crazy because he was like, yeah, I don't think I remember they did a cut when they're like, are you depressed? And he was like, and then like didn't answer. I don't remember that pit of self-loathing remark. That I mean, I guess that is a good push, but
no, so that was an actual quote he said. But yeah, I now that's some good filmmaking right there. Asking a question, not showing the person answering. That's definitely a little bit more like fluff up the story.
that's some YouTube edits right there.
I appreciate things like that that show and don't tell.
Yeah, that's a good. If you haven't seen it, you should check that out. But anyways, talking about I forgot what it was before this.
Talking
I'm
about
gonna be
work.
honest.
Okay, I need to answer this question about
Yeah.
work.
I'm curious your thoughts. Plus, also as an aside, and I don't mean this weird. So if this is like uncomfortable, I'm really sorry. But like your job, just like on the financial side of it, but also I guess like the qualifications and everything, and like all of it is like very different than mine. In the sense of mine is something that's like, barring some things coming up that I wanted to talk about to navigate and get some insight on and just vent about. But like,
I feel so bad.
No, it's not meant that way.
Yeah.
But like the financial
Yeah.
side of my 9 to 5 is very different than yours, right? And like I think that also plays a different factor in it. But like I didn't try or do any of my calc homework, and you did, and you went to school for something that involved using all the stuff you learned on, and I just took it to exempt out of classes and then like play a bunch of music, and that was it. And
that is not exactly my experience.
Well-
It looks that way, but I guarantee you, if you thought that I was doing everything required of 2 degrees straight out and getting like A's in all of them,
well, no, I don't think it's
story.
yeah, and I don't think it's at that level. And it's not a jab at you. That's just like being a realist. Like when my first semester,
But I
and a
tried.
half of-
I did try. That's the only thing I can admit to saying is that I tried.
Yeah, I mean, my first semester and a half was I tried to do a double major in music, which essentially ended up being a triple major the way the program was panned out, and I had 4 private lessons a week. If you're a musician, you know that that's fucking insane. I literally had 4 private lessons a week. Like that's ridiculous.
That's literally insane. As a person who did the musical thing as well, that's absolutely insane.
Yeah, it was nuts. It was just like not. I had to adjust, and that's part of why I transferred, and I had to like do this whole soul searching while in school. It was insane, but like I don't think that it was that case, I guess, but you definitely took like a different route of being like you were more, I think, either be it more aware of it or more willing or whatever it is, like from the start was kind of like, I'm going to do kind of this both path thing. And for me, I like committed to one and then fell a bunch and tried to find a way to be like, hey, I'm really tired of falling and having this really, because like the lows that have been hit were pretty intense with it, and your route was different. And it's not like, I used to feel this really imposter syndrome, right? Where you feel like you're not valid in what you do despite like literal evidence that you are. I used to feel like, oh, like if I don't do this or if I don't have these falls or whatever else, like I'm not great. Everyone hears about starving artists and it's like this glorified thing. I even had friends who were like, bro, you're like doing it though. Like I want to go through that. And I was like, you don't want to live in Brooklyn in a shitty apartment with 4 cats sleeping on a fucking floor. I can promise you this shit ain't it, bro. Like, you know what I ate today? I counted change for a peanut butter sandwich and 3 cigs. That shit is not like, no part of that is a party. It sounds cool, but I can't write music.
Cool. If you film that in black and white, it looks cool as heck.
But when you're like too sad to write music and like almost flunking out of your senior year of college, it's like way less cool. But you kind of went about it in a different way, and it doesn't make you less of a talented artist or person for that. And I always struggle with that. So anyways, that's my pass off to you, because I'm so curious, like your route of it and how you kind of navigated and when you decided, because I know in high school too, we both took like advanced classes or whatever and took some APs and tried to like do the thing. The difference being, again, I think like your effort and your commitment to it and like knowledge of what you were going to do was a little bit more there than mine was.
Yeah, that by the way, I really like what you said about, we need to stop doing sidebars. I really like what you said about the
no, we don't. It's
advanced
strengths
classes.
with Dylan. It's a free fall.
I have to mention this because it's something that I've realized, and I think it needs to be said. I really appreciate how, I'm a triplet, right? So there's 3 of us going through the school at the same time. I can't remember the exact details, but my brother was like, I think more known as like the one who did the advanced classes. And I think when we moved, my mom talked to the school and was like, can't Noah like also be in these classes? And I don't know if it was I don't know if like there was pushback or if they just said, sure, sign up and pay like more money. I don't know, but the biggest like life hack for me at that point in my life was due to that. I realized, like, at least for me, it just felt like anyone could sign up for those classes. Kind of shattered a little bit the educational visage, but I have to point that out there because I would not be where I am if she didn't kind of put me on like that track, I think. But so yes, that's a good point. I am very lucky in the sense that I knew what I wanted to do in college. I knew what I wanted to do pretty much right when it came time to apply. I did spring the music thing on my parents a little bit too late, and I definitely had to then pay the consequence of just figuring the music stuff out on my own, or maybe I was too stubborn to ask. I don't remember. But
wait, what do you mean by that? So your plan for college was to go, it was computer science, right? Was that like the stamp or whatever?
It was assumed without speaking that it would be computer science, but I knew that nothing in computer science would ever give me the deepest feelings that like music did. Okay. And I'd realized 3 things at that point in life. Like, I knew how I enjoyed spending my time. It was not going out to parties and drinking. It was learning about like computers. It was like learning about harmony and training my ear and like stuff like that, and watching musicals. Like, and then I had learned the second most important lesson, which was like how to not like lie to yourself about what you like. It's easy to go in school, especially when you're a young person, and being like, man, I really love this musical, but like everyone around me says it's bad, so I guess I'll just lie and say it's bad. I had like learned to no longer do weird things like that to fit in. And then the final thing was like, I knew that I had one shot to do it. And so I knew how I enjoyed spending my time. I learned not to apologize for it. And I'm super glad that I stuck to my guns, because I think a lot of people enter college these days without quite knowing what they want to do. They just know that like they kind of have to do it. I wouldn't
have to do it.
Recommend that. I think it's perfectly fine to take time off, because that's a huge investment to make if you don't quite know what you want out of it.
I wish I went to college now. I've talked about this before, but I mean with people, not on the podcast, but I wish I took like 2 years off to like fuck around and do bullshit jobs and save up and like do life things, and then decide on college slash what I want to do slash if I want to at all. I think that that's a great way. I don't know. I think also as a side note, I'm going to stop saying side note. That's just my solution. As a related topic that I'm going to pretend isn't related because I feel awkwardly guilty about my distractions from the immediate topic. We're from, going to get a drink down in chat for your thing. Guys, twitch.tv
There's one more.
slash Dylan Mansour Music, and the video is Drinks with Dylan. You can see Noah's grainy Mac camera just to show that he's still human. His camera isn't a DSLR hooked up to a tripod for this, so like he may be like Robin Hood on steroids, but he still has the Mac camera. He's still with us.
Yep.
What was I saying?
Decide your
the college thing.
Topic.
I would love to spend that time just not going to school. There's no reason you should feel that pressure to. We're both from suburban Wisconsin, where it's like, yeah, you just like get this job and then like a home and 2 cars and a dog and a wife and you have kids. And like, I mean, I think you'd be closest, but also your job's in a place where like that's the odds of you buying a home here and also a home in New York City is just like that's not really a real thing. Or you're going to spend way too much to live in like South Brooklyn or Queens. No shade, but just like, that's not the same as like what we grew up in, where there's like, hey, here's this giant house and a giant patio for like $800,000, and you just like work at this tech thing doing this stuff. Like we fell very much into that like American dream thing and that role in education, which is like very fucked up and demented, and a whole nother sidebar. But like that was kind of the pitch and the sell of like, you do this and this happens. And I wish so bad, maybe not, I guess, because I'm thankful for everything that's happened to me, but I think I would have benefited more from school going later and having taken more time off at the beginning to just kind of like be and do things and figure shit out. Like 18 is so young, and I still feel really young. And I know when I'm like 30, I'm gonna look back and be like, I was 24 and I had no idea what the fuck was going on, you know? But like to go right into school is so bizarre. That's the end of my rant. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah.
If you're looking at taking time off and you're from suburban anywhere and you're like, everyone goes to college, yeah, well, when they're all living at home in 4 years and like sad and jobless and in debt, you're gonna be like, well, I figured out what I wanted to do by just living.
Yeah, and now there's also certain industries where you can be mediocre at what you do and still be fine. That's probably, no, I don't feel as bad for them as people who go to college and then like regret it, like regret their time, and like it doesn't benefit them in the economy, because that's pretty sucky, to be honest. But
yeah, I was told this would make it better. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree. Now the academic setting is a beautiful thing. I love it. I love spending time. Like I love that, literally that safe space, because college was the time where I could write like any music. Like it was the time where I could try anything, throw anything against a wall, and I would get like nothing but support for it.
That's crazy.
That's
so
not
good, though.
how
like,
the real world is. That's not how the real world is.
Or a lot of other colleges, for that matter, to be honest.
Or all colleges, but I loved my time in college, and I'm glad I knew what I wanted to do. Now there was still a calculated risk, you know. I'm not saying everyone should do a double major. It's just as impressive to see someone who's like a little bit of a polymath at everything, as also seeing someone who's devoted like their entire life to one thing, and they do that one thing so well, it's like inhuman. I think both are great things to strive for. You should know which, you know, one that you fit in. For me, I took the approach where I'm like, I want to put my hands in a lot of things, because that's the only way that I can tell the stories that I want to tell. And to be clear, there was a time graduating where I was like, I'm about to get 2 degrees. I don't know if I have leads for graduate school in music, and I don't know if I have any leads for programming jobs. And I literally thought I was going to graduate with 2 degrees and nothing for it. Nothing except like my own, you know, like enjoyment, I guess. But so in my journey too, there's a healthy amount of luck. There's an absolute like healthy amount of luck too. The only thing that I know that I wouldn't change was like, I spent my time in college doing things that I enjoyed. And this is also the bad part. I went to a school that I could also like afford. Not everyone goes to a place where they can afford. A lot of people have to take out loans. That changes your experience. I was almost going to go down that route. I wanted to go to a much more big name like music school. Um,
Can I ask
but
what
I
it
would
is?
have
You
had
don't
to.
have to say if you don't want, but
I'll say
literally,
Jacob. Actually, should I say it? Because I've actually met the composer faculty at other places,
can you give me
and
the
like they
state?
keep popping up in my life. No, because there's only one music school in this state that like everyone
Which
knows.
coast?
Um,
It's
I'm
got to
not
be
gonna say
west then.
it's in no, it's in Middle America. It's in Middle America. I'll give you that. But as a composer, by the way, when
Does
you
it
do
start with an
festivals,
O?
I'm not.
Sorry to be this guy in the podcast. Shoot me
Oh,
a text. I'm curious.
I
But
have a story about that school. This is not that story, but I have like some interesting stories about that place.
I'm trying to think of like prestigious music schools in the Midwest, and that was all I had. We'll talk about it later. I'm curious.
Yeah, we'll
But
talk about offline because to be fair, as a composer, I try every summer to literally take vacation time from my work to go like literally write music at music festivals. And every time I go, there's people at the schools I applied to and like didn't get in, or people that were like, "Why didn't you apply to my place?" And I was like, "I did, and you didn't accept me." You know, so
listen,
like
man.
I've
Or
had a
not,
very
man.
and Dylan, I mean, I'm sure you've experienced this too. Like the music world is crazy small.
Oh,
It's
it's
crazy
insane. It's
small.
insane. It's such a big world, but the music community is like very tiny. It's like
Yeah.
actually, it's pretty nuts. Like, yeah, especially. I mean, my side's less that and less festival and school based, and more like I don't want to say like
Or
hard
like,
knocks or whatever, but like someone like I spoke at a college because I knew a director who graduated from there at a different department that I'd spoken at for like 3 years in a row. The guy still wasn't there, obviously, because this dude graduated and was old enough to be a director of a different program. But it was like from this one dude, and like everyone knows somebody knows somebody. Like the amount of time you can say, like, I don't want to say name dropping because I don't really think that's what it is. But like the odds of you finding a similar connection to someone, or at least like, hey, we both know this one place or this one program or what, like, or it's just insane. It's insanely small. I think smaller than any other community I've seen. I guess I haven't been active in too many climbing and some other stuff, but like it's very small. Yeah.
yeah, which is great because like the music community always makes me feel like the most welcome. Um, I like programmers too. You're all awesome. I actually love my group of friends. So when I moved to New Jersey and started this job at this healthcare company, I got like super lucky in finding like a great group of coworkers who turned into friends. We were all like the same age. Um, they were just super welcoming, and you guys definitely hold a special place in my heart. But gotta be honest, like I love what music does for my soul. And I love the people. Actually, the people make me a little bit insane sometimes. And I'm definitely part of the problem in other circles. But that's what you get when you get art. You just get people wearing their hearts on their sleeve, and you gotta
Yeah.
roll with it.
It's a whole
Yeah,
thing. As an
it's a
aside,
whole thing.
me and the bass player for the most recent trio works, including the last tour and the record and the single. Hey, everyone that's listening, you should listen to the record, Dillman's Hero Trio Home Couch. It's all my first name, last name for a reason. It's not because I'm an egotistical piece of shit. It just, listen, you just search Dylan and you can probably find the podcast, definitely the YouTube channel, all these. It's congruent, all right? I like to make it easy for you. The record, otherwise, we're putting out a single. Sorry to cut you off for the self promo, but there's a
Oh
holiday
no.
single coming out, and I need to figure out. We're producing the last part on Monday. I need to figure out if these bass notes work for putting in a holiday song over it, and we're gonna add some sleigh bells and stuff. This is the hand gesture for sleigh bells. You can't see it, but on the YouTube you
It's
can.
true. On
It's
the
a
YouTube you
pretty
can,
weird
and
gesture. It's bizarre, but we're gonna be putting together a thing, so
true.
you should check that out too. But um, the bass player
Remember
for it.
playing Sleigh Bell?
Oh,
How
dude,
fun it was
with
to
the
Sleigh Bell.
slap thing at the end.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
man, that's a good memory for sure.
yeah,
But dude, that's awesome. By the way, my favorite track on the record, "Sun-Kissed Skin," right? That was on the record.
the one about more. Yep.
Yeah, I love me a good ballad. You can listen to
It's the
my own
majority of the
music.
record.
I love me a good ballad. So that to me is like something I can like wake up to and put on and like feel happy. So
I appreciate it, man. The support of the record has been
yeah.
huge. There's a reason I was talking about this. So someone with the bass player, we were talking about music schools, small music community.
Now you guys want to hear about coding. How do you ace your coding interview? That's what you want to know. How do you ace the coding questions? Nah, dude. I got super lucky. The job I got, they didn't ask any like technical questions. I literally took my technical interview when I was running around my college campus. Got a phone call and they're like, "Hey, is like now a good time for a technical interview?" And I'm like shirtless running around the college campus and I'm like, "Yeah, sure." I mean, I didn't have enough courage to say, "Oh, let's find another time." But they asked me like two questions. One was about a programming language, and the other was about HTTP and networking, which I didn't know the answer to, and I just took an educated guess, and the rest is history. By the way, Dylan, so going back to jobs, we talk about jobs. I basically cold called my job. I was lucky enough to get an interview, but I didn't know if it was really going to go past that because they gave a lot of people interviews. And what I did is I found, or rather my dad, because he has like a business database, and he found an email of someone at the pharma company, and it's like a pretty high up person. And I'm like, I'm just gonna write this email about like why it would be a mistake if they didn't hire me. And I tracked the email. I put tracking code in the email and I sent it to this person. I saw it got forwarded like 17 times or something. And I got a phone call one day that was like, "We saw your resume. We want to bring you in for like a second interview." And I've since like caught up with this person. I actually have a meeting with this person like next week. I think he made it happen for me because I could see all the times that it was forwarded and like when it was opened because I put like probably don't put tracking code in your emails, but if you know how to, I recommend it. And by the way, the story of actually how I got hired, I was very lucky to go on a volunteer trip. I'm just going to flex on your podcast. Is that okay?
I mean, this whole thing has literally been just like talking about how like goated you are at just being a great human. So it's fine. I'm just kidding.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I feel like I make all these jokes that sound like throwing shade. You're really not being an arrogant person. I just think like you do some pretty outstanding stuff that like obviously I'm just hearing about for the first time here too. I think that's great. I just make these jokes because like.
No, and I hope
easy,
you know.
I
like,
guess low hanging fruit.
I do that. I do this in jest. I flex in jest.
See, I don't know what jest means, man. I didn't fucking listen. I didn't take the same classes. Like I just, I'm just kidding. We took a lot of the same classes, actually.
We did. That's because like the advanced classes are a little bit of a sham.
Well, dude, to be honest, so for my thing, I started the advanced classes since like 5th grade. So I was in advanced math since like the start. And then I remember 9th or 10th grade, there was like trig geometry put into one to be like, if you want to take the AP, take this 1 year thing where you do both at once. And I was like, how the hell are you going to do like 9 months of shit in once? Like that makes no sense to me. Or I guess 18 months in 9, like, but then it was, and then all these people showed up that were like in the same math class. And I don't care, but I was just like, they clearly know as much trig and geometry as me, but I took it like separately. So I was on it for a while, which I guess is a testament of like, clearly I barely passed a lot of those classes because I just didn't, I don't know. This sounds like I'm just some entitled fuck. I just didn't try and didn't do my homework, but like, it just wasn't my thing.
Dude,
like,
there's nothing more universal than someone not wanting to do their homework. Don't think about it.
Dude, I had a whole conversation
like
in AP Spanish.
Equalizer.
You remember Ryan? I had a whole conversation in AP Spanish where my teacher was like, teacher was like, listen, why aren't you doing your homework? And I was like, because I've just been practicing. When I go home, I took the school's marimba, which is like tens of thousands of dollars to go practice for my auditions at home. And they were like, well, but if you don't get in for grades, then you won't get in at all. And I was like, yeah, but if I get in only for grades and not music, I don't care to go anyways. And she was like, okay, well, I mean, do when you can. Good luck. And that was it. She was like the most understanding, nicest person. We had the whole conversation in Spanish because Ryan was like, bro, you didn't do your homework again. We're not going to get our sticker and our free suckers. And I was like, yeah, but guess you practiced 6 hours yesterday.
Oh, Ryan. Ryan looks out for like he looks out for everyone. That's what
That's
I
like one of
love
the
about Ryan.
kindest guys too, man. He's just such like a
Dude,
like what a if there were
you
ever
need
like an
to catch
angel
up
in
with him.
real life. Yeah, I haven't talked to him in
He
forever,
he
man.
when I go back to Wisco, which I do like once a year, and I meet up with him, he always asks about you.
Did he
Sorry
get
if
the
I
eye surgery? No, it's creepy. I think he's gonna wear my skin one day and just break into my window since I live on a main drag in Queens. No, I'm just kidding. Did he get? He talked about getting an eye surgery, like corrective stuff to be able to fly. Did that happen?
um it must have because he is flying. Him describing about like what him and his like class of other pilots like do when they're flying. I like actually can't believe that some of this is possible.
Yeah,
Like
he
it
wanted
shouldn't
to
be
take me up
possible.
once. I was like, I don't think so, man. I'm scared.
Oh, I've really wanted him to do that because I do trust him, but it just haven't made it happen. But he's fighting or he's flying fighter jets now.
That's insane, dude. That's
Like,
actually like insane. There's someone else
have
who I
you
knew
ever?
who like wanted to get into planes, and he's like an airplane mechanic for like some big companies that we know in Wisconsin. He's like a private jet mechanic for these companies. It's like,
Dang,
and he bought a house. I was like, bro, what? You bought a house and you're like a private jet mechanic? Like that's some of the stuff that people do. Like maybe this is a sign, but people that aren't in the music community, like some of the stuff that people have accomplished, like I would consider you one of those people, Ryan one of those people, this guy doing the Air Force thing, Moose working at Microsoft in Seattle. Like there's just stuff that to me, maybe it's because I'm not in that world and because I'm so hard committed to what I do that it's like, it's really astounding to me. I think it's like really incredible that I'm like, yeah, I have some friends that do like pretty insane stuff. Like,
dude. I hear what you're saying. And there are times where like these other things can take on the form of like an art form, but if I could just write like a piece of music that people like feel something and they understand what I was trying to say and then they have their own interpretation to go on top of it and they like tell me about it, dude, that hits different, man. That's like so you're right. I have a job. It has a salary, tech people, and I will go on record saying this, even though I benefit from the system. I do think software engineers are overvalued in America. It's not the same way in other countries, people that know how to program. Um, we've just created this like bubble in the economy where, and sorry, Moose, if you're still listening, um, I think we get paid a little bit more than what we're worth, considering what we actually do day to day. And the more financial security I got, I thought it was going to translate to happiness. It did not at all. The things that made me happy were like doing the hotline stuff, doing
sure.
music and whatever stuff. And just like I remember the first time I wrote a piece of music that I was proud of. Like I know it seems so simple and so trivial. I wrote a piece of music that I knew that it worked and other people could tell that it worked. And the response that that piece got was just, it was unlike anything else. And this is like now pivoting into like, so yeah, I still write music outside of work. It's a bit of a grind. It's a bit of a grind. Um, but when you really have something to say as an artist, it doesn't like and I mean like you really have to know like what you want to say, like what if it's a story, it's a story, or if it's just some idea or thing that you felt that you just want other people to like know about. um it's still fun, even if I'm tired, like it's still fun and it's still motivating. um yeah, it hits different, as the kids would say. But don't get me wrong, what Ryan does is really cool. Like it does make me like feel amazing just because I have no idea how he does any of it. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how to fly
but
a
art
plane.
can be what am I trying to say? What am I trying to say? Um, obviously writing a song is not the same as flying a plane, but the feeling that flying a plane, and I'm not talking about like the actual G forces that you probably feel when you're flying as fast as him. Um, I'm talking about this like artistic, this craft, this like desire of executing a craft, and you're doing it consciously. Dude, that's something that you can get from anywhere. It's and I choose not to go that far in computer science. Like still for me, it's I love doing it on my own terms. In fact, everything that the company has asked me to do, the technical wise, so like use this algorithm or use this technique, it's because I like did it with a music project first. Um,
Hmm.
Music has been my way to build literacy in computing. That's how it's always been. That's how it still is today. It's a little weird sometimes because like you're, you know, in an office setting, like you get labeled as like the weird like hippie creative person. Um, so that was like an answer to an earlier question you had. Like how, like what does that like balance like feel like? To be honest, I every day I still feel like I still feel insecure about coming across as too like free thing, like free love type of person for an office environment. And then in the music community, I live in fear that musicians think I am not a real musician because I do like a science job, which I know is not true at all,
Yeah.
but I still feel it like
Yeah. I mean, that's insane,
every
man.
other day.
I
Yeah.
mean, even like the music community itself is like, there's so many people that come from financial backgrounds that like isn't overtly apparent. I've talked to some people like more, I'm obviously not using names, and no part of me being like, I'm not gonna use names or say the companies or what, like none of that is done as like trying to seem important. It's just literally like I'm not comfortable doing it, and I think it's just better that way. But they're like bigger names that are playing pretty established venues, and we've like sat down and had conversations about it because I was like, hey man, I don't know how I'm feeling about this, and we're like friends. We go to the bar, grab a drink, or I mean, or not a drink or whatever, but for us it is, and like sit down and talk and be like, hey, I don't know. One of the things that I talked about this particular musician that's pretty established about was like, I'm trying to figure out a way to make money doing this, and I don't know if the city's it. And at the time I was looking at moving and I was going through a bunch of other stuff, but he was like, dude, this city like pays my like phone bill, maybe. It's like all my money's made on tours, not in the city, which I mean can confirm I've made the most money doing music stuff on tour than I've made here, even going like, it's just the travel and everything else, it still comes out to be more, right? Like net, actually I've sat down and done the math, made more from that than being here. But like people will try to be qualified or say that they're like, hey, I did this thing or that thing, or like, oh, I toured in Europe and flexed this stuff. And one of the things that we specifically spoke about was like people in a tour going to Europe where they sacrifice their pay to pay this one musician, where their anchor gig, right, which is like, this is going to fund the rest of the stuff that we do basically, was based on one specific musician coming. And that specific musician was like, this is how much I need to make per day. And in order for them to get paid that, everyone in the band had to like sacrifice X amount of dollars or their per diem or whatever, to the point where like they were basically paying to go on tour in Europe. And then all you see on social is like, oh, I'm like in Europe going on tour, and you don't get that whole context of like, by the way, my parents signed off on my apartment and I haven't paid rent in years, and I paid this one guy and spent money going to Europe and I didn't make anything because I didn't need to. And that's not bashing, right? Like if you're from that, that's totally cool. I think as long as you have that perspective and realize sometimes the jeopardizing you do for other musicians by like, oh, I can say this as a gig for no money because I don't need the money. Like that's damaging to a culture past a certain threshold. That's a whole other conversation. But like people where you see this thing, or they're like, oh, I'm established or I'm qualified in this community because of X, Y, or Z, but you might not see like, okay, well, what was the last bill that you had to pay out of pocket, or what was like X, Y, or Z thing. That was like a huge turning point having this conversation, because I remember distinctly, I remember the bar, all of it, where I was like, oh shit, like I just kind of ignored it. But even like a couple of years before, someone mentioned this really talented drummer and they're like, yeah, man, they just wanted an apartment. And they're like, hey, can I get an apartment here? And their parents were like, okay. And just like took care of it. And that's such a different lifestyle. It's nothing bad mouthing that, but it's also hard to be like, oh yeah, like how do you make a living freelancing? Like they might literally fucking not, but that's such like an awkward and weird thing to talk about. And then if you're going to get vibed, or you're like, you personally are going to get like vibed out at a club or at a show or whatever, because it's like, oh, well, you don't even do music full time. It's like, well, yeah, but also like I pay my own things and like we might just have different, I don't know. I've just always wondered that like what makes you valid thing is so subjective and has like such weird like fine print and like specifics that you don't know about to be like, are you credible or not, is such a stupid concept based on like, what do you do to pay for things? I don't know.
Yeah. I still struggle with like that sense of identity. I wish I could say that I don't let it bother me, but like there are days where it does, where I feel like I'm not a real musician or whatever. The only thing I do know is that as long as I can figure out a way to like make ends meet that I don't completely hate, and I reinvest that back into the thing that like I really want to do, I'm spending time the way that I enjoy, because it changes the perspective like of your job. Like um there are days where like programming gets super mundane. Um but I know that like it's putting me in a position where like um I can take a day off next month to go see this yeah, amazing show where I think I'm gonna like meet this person, and um being able to like buy a ticket for that show, like it's that's the only way that I've been able to like maintain some sense of happiness, because again, money does not just solve all your problems.
Mm-hmm.
It does to a certain point, but then it has very diminishing returns. And
Sure.
the only thing I do know is like we all got to do what we got to do to stay afloat. Just as long as like you're spending time a way that that makes you happy. And I'm not saying like immediate things makes you happy, like um like how do I okay, like let's just say playing video games all the time. Like I love video games, but I definitely need to watch how much I play.
Wait, actually, because we
Playing.
should game sometime.
Okay, we can game. I'm not a very good gamer, but I'm always down to like let loose and play some games.
Hell
But
yeah.
so like like playing video games all the time, like maybe that's really giving you just like a short-term amount of happiness. Like I'm talking about like my relationship with music is it's mostly hitting my head against the wall every time. Very, very seldom is it actually like I figured it out what I want to say and I know how to say it. No, that's
Yeah.
like 1% of the time. It's mostly just hitting my head against the wall. Um, but that feeds my soul more than like these cheap fixes of just like feel good, whatever. Like for some people that's playing video games, for some people that's a substance, whatever. Um, the only thing I do know is that we gotta pay the bills somehow, and you have to put it into something that is a good use of your time. That spending your time in a way that makes you happy. And it's hard to find that. Um, it's hard. I think we know what makes us happy, and I think we lie to ourselves. That's like what I meant where like when I was younger, like I knew all the things that I had liked and enjoyed, but I felt like it wasn't like what I was supposed to be doing. And that can come from friends, that can come from family, that can come from society itself. If you can tread that line, if you can tread that balance of not losing yourself, but not going so far the other direction that you're like a recluse. That's how I feel about things, at least right now. Um, Again, if I could make a living doing music full time, I totally would.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the shutdown during COVID was great because I was making unemployment plus the bump, which came out to be about what I was making at my job, which was sick because it was like, yeah, I'm basically getting paid full time to just stream and make videos. And I was like, this is great. I love it. It's so awesome. It's great spending the time with more. It's great spending the time on the apartment and taking care of just like stuff that's very much like, I mean, end goal things, basically. It was like a taste of like, hey, that life you want? Here's what that would feel like. And I was like, this is sick because I got to spend all that time on doing what makes me happy, which is stuff like this, the podcast, the YouTube videos, the using a chunk of that money for putting together a record and playing with musicians I really appreciate and respect. Like all that stuff. I was like, wow, this would be fucking like so sick to do this full time. That's like, this is great. And this is like what the bare minimum like baseline of this feels like, which was super cool. I mean, I feel the same way, obviously the goal is the same. fuck, it's been like almost an hour and a half, so I don't want to like screw other potential people and other episodes, but maybe the next
Yep.
one will just be us and like a sequel. But I want to talk about, I'm faced with a predicament of I might have the opportunity for a job that is very much what I would consider enjoyable. Like it sounds like you enjoy the computer science and the programming and that kind of stuff paired with the music thing. Obviously, like you said, your passion is doing the music thing, but it's something that's more tolerable and enjoyable. And right now, my title is less tolerable and enjoyable than this potential one, but it's like a part-time thing and I don't know what the pay looks like versus potentially making actually more money for a change, not just like, hey, here's your hourly bill, like salary and stuff. So I want to talk more about that, which was like literally going to be one of the things that I wanted to talk about and get your feedback on as someone doing that. But
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not, chest tattoo, no regrets, because I think this has been a great episode, but I think we should wrap just because I also, relating to job stuff and doll hair stuff and personal pursuits, only have 6 hours of space per month. So, if you want to donate, there's no link for it, but just shoot me a DM and be like, hey, you broke.
Send a picture of money. Just send a picture of money that will feel like donations are coming in.
Yeah, just an Instagram DM. You broke sad potato. Here's $10 to help you, and then we'll figure it out. I'm just kidding.
Nah, dude,
But
fund the
we'll do it.
podcast, folks. Fund it.
Yeah,
And listen
I don't
to
know
the
how
album.
though, man. I don't have a link, and if they listen to the album, what, I'm gonna make another penny? I mean, you should listen to it. I'd love you to check out the music that I write, but financially, it's just not. I mean, that's a whole nother conversation. But anyways,
Yeah.
we should wrap. I mean, we'll be here after, but we're gonna end the podcast part of it. But this is definitely gonna be a part 2 thing. This has been so great. I feel like I've learned so much like about you in this, which sounds so stupid to say out loud. Like, oh wow, I've learned so much and gained so much insight on your character. I mean, obviously, but like, I feel like I knew you pretty well from this and us catching up and climbing and you moving to the city. But like, I mean, the big thing being the weekend stuff, and it's so interesting to hear your thoughts on all the music things. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here and buying your 6-pack almost alcohol thing. I appreciate it.
It's not even almost. Yeah, man. Being able to like learn more about who you are after high school, I never thought it would happen. But it's like the highlight of like whenever we climb and hang out, it's like the highlight of my week. So I'm glad that like our friendship has like only just grown. I never thought it would happen, but I'm glad it did.
I paid him to say that. I wrote those lines. No, I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Yeah. But yeah, we'll do definitely like a. I'm just gonna say it now. Let's just do another one. Like just straight up. Let's just do another one.
Yeah.
Like literally
'Cause-
right
'cause
after this
I-
as like a
you
part
know,
2.
I-
Because I don't know if
we
we ended
should-
on a conclusion. Because to be honest, like it's late, and I've had like a decent amount of scotch, and I'm just like, I think we should just keep going. But it's like 1:30 and an hour and a half in. So let's do a second one for sure. Because it's been a great time. And if you hated listening to this, then you should find a different podcast because we're doing this a second time. And I had a great time. And this is my passion project about me. All right. I set a schedule for all my other things on all the other platforms, which are linked below. That's a way to do a self-loathing plug. But this is just for fun and enjoyment. So thank you for being here, man. Is there the last part is just like plug your stuff, right? Hot Ones style. Is there anything that you wanna like check out this thing or click this link, or you can shoot me stuff to put in the description or whatever? But
Geez, I'm not really on social media, and I don't have any recordings like on a like released through a distribution or anything. The only thing I can say is don't forget about me. I'm working on a one-act opera and a one-act musical that should be workshopped spring next year. So if you keep the
Sick.
feelers out for spring next year, sorry these things take a long time. When it's done, I can tell you exactly where to go and see it, and I'll have more details. But not right now. I'm just happy to be here.
Nice. I'm gonna just
Oh,
plug
go to noahnethery.com. Also, by the way, you can commission me to write music. You can commission me to write music. So if there's something, if there's film stuff you need, whatever, actually go to my website, look at the stuff that I've done, noahnethery.com. Also, as a programmer, programmers are everywhere, but if you need that musician's, chef's kiss taste to your software, I'd be happy to work with you and write software as well. So just go to my website.
I love that this started as like a fuck it next year just to hang out and wait until like, wait, no, actually, real quick.
Hey, I write music and you can pay me to do that, believe it or not.
Yeah, crazy. Yeah, you should do that.
I just get so focused on my own projects, but yeah, please reach out if you want to collaborate.
Moose, I didn't read your question in time. I read it and then I forgot about it, and now we're at the end. But he said, okay, now I want to know the questions. I think it's about interviewing, but we're just not going to address it. We saved time for a chat Q&A, but it seems like people in and out, which is fine. I don't care. Again, twitch.tv/DLManswermusic. So
send me the question. I'll send you a message of what
and
the
then
answer
no
is.
one else here listening right now will be able to hear it. So, tough nuggets, everybody. No, but thank you for being here. Also to the other people as well, not just Noah, even though he did way more than you guys with headphones on, but I still appreciate you guys with headphones on or earbuds in or just on speaker or like, just the anarchy style of like on your phone speaker in the train. I appreciate you the most because you just give zero fucks about it and think I'm worthy of everyone's ears. So fuck yeah for that. Thank you for being here. There's going to be another episode. There's going to be a whole bunch more episodes. So I don't know what you do on podcasts. Click the thing. Again, I don't have an ending for this. I have an ending and a start for my videos. I don't know how to end or start these, so I just choose a random spot and I just do the Band-Aid approach. So it just happens. Do you want to cue like, hey, it ends right here?
Yeah, as a podcast listener, I love when it just ends. So this is the end of the podcast. Thanks for listening.